100% champion and Ferrari's biggest fan, as we are going to look at the Chinese Grand Prix, the round 5 of the 2024 FIA Formula 1 World Championship, and we will tell you our exclusive reaction to that race that happened obviously on the outskirts of Shanghai for the first time in 5 years. And how did it go? Obviously it was I have to clearly say the weakest race that Ferrari put in so far. So there's definitely a lot of things that are concerning us at this moment. We will obviously talk about the best moments that happened during the race, and especially we will look at the standings, which is probably one of the most positive, if not one of the very few positive things that obviously we can take from this race, which was really challenging for the Scuderia Ferrari. Okay, so let's take a look at it. So how did it go? Yeah, I have to say, from the qualifying, so during the sprint we obviously knew only Lewis Hamilton managed to split us and the Red Bulls, so it was pretty much the limited limitation. But to be honest, the qualifying was the Achilles heel of basically of the whole weekend performance, because once you are starting so far back, we started 6th and 7th, and both McLarens jumped ahead of us, as well as Alonso in Aston Martin, and of course both Red Bulls. That's obviously gonna be a big challenge. So that Achilles heel was really that we had to get a good start. We could see from the sprint when Lewis Hamilton, for example, got a fantastic start, that it is possible to make up quite a lot of places right at the start, but that wasn't the case for Ferraris. We actually lost 2 places. So once the lights went out, the 5 green lights went out, basically there was a really good start by Alonso, who managed to squeeze up to second, so very similar to the sprint. But we both Leclerc and Sainz both lost ground to Russell. Crucially also to Hülkenberg. So that's a big problem if Haas is in front of you, right? Obviously with the same Ferrari engine, it was like, what's happening? Is it 2024 or is it still 2023? Because it did feel a little bit like a throwback back to the 2023. So that was a bit disappointing. In terms of the strategy, well, I could see that in a game, like if you can watch that fantastic hot lap which we posted just a couple of days ago, you can see that I had a great pace in a Ferrari. It seemed pretty well planted, but in a real life that was not the case. So the cars actually were a bit slower, so that was a surprise. Maybe had to do something with the track surface, but yeah, as a result, basically in Japan we were able to run long. So it wasn't all lost, especially once we were able to get the Hülkenberg, get the Russell. We then got again to the 6th and 7th place, and we were also able to overtake Piastri on the road with both Leclerc and Sainz. So we were then basically running 5th and 6th, and from that point on, you are thinking, okay, let's work out with the strategy, because for example in Japan we only did 1 stop. I think that was the original intention, but sadly the Bottas's safety car spoiled that, because then we again had to revert to the 2 stops. So what basically happened was that we were approaching Norris, and I thought we could also get Norris if we've obviously gotten Piastri, especially with Leclerc. Sainz wasn't that strong, okay, only challenged Charles at the start, so that was good. There was no fighting there, and yeah, then basically what happened was the Red Bulls, they stopped and we were able to jump them. So Norris was first, Leclerc was second, and I was like, okay, that's it. Let's keep the track position, because there was a threat of rain, but it was a dry race. So once again, there was no different weather factors. It was just a dry race basically. So once it's a dry race, that's again the variable is not so strong in terms of the other teams being able to really challenge Red Bull, which seem to always have half a second to 1 second in hand. After we stopped, obviously, Charles, did a pretty good job over there, was able to run 3rd behind Verstappen and Norris, with Sainz. So obviously he ran in front of Alonso, he under the safety car, we had a double safety car, with a crazy Alonso's teammate Lance Stroll hitting Daniel Ricciardo from the back. That was a really amateurish mistake that shows why you should always always pay attention nowadays. You can see the wheel, how many buttons there are. It's easy to lose control, but yeah, we had to have a double safety car. So, as a result, obviously, it was then clearly possible for the runners to go to the end, on the hard tires. But only Alonso selected a red tire. He obviously did drop back to 7 because, a lot of the runners, they stop early. Only the Ferraris and basically Norris went long. And I felt that, that was at least the right strategy at the time. But then, obviously, Sainz, he got overtaken, by Alonso, but then he had to stop. So Sainz was able to make up the ground, and, obviously he was also, able to dispatch Piastri. So in the end, finished 5th. Leclerc obviously lost position to Perez, but who wasn't able then to beat Norris. So we then finished 4th and 5th, which was a good, decent result, you would think, but actually, not up to the Ferrari standards. So what is very important is when you qualify 6th and 7th to make sure you find the additional 10th or 2, because then we could have easily been, for example, 3rd and 4th, right? It was only the Red Bulls that have gotten into 133s and, approved, for example, in a hot lap that 134.0 is definitely possible. If we did it, we would be 3rd and 4th. How we could have won the race would be to jump basically, the Red Bulls at the start and make them work, because you could see for Verstappen, it wasn't an issue. But once Perez was running, obviously, in a traffic, he was losing a significant amount of time. So that's very, very important. He wasn't able, for example, then to get Norris and finish just a couple of seconds behind them. So now the big question is, how did the Chinese Grand Prix finish? So let's take a look at it. So over here, they didn't show us in the original highlights, the overall standings. So over here, if we can turn our beautiful retina iMac, obviously all in Ferrari colors. So here we can see, so it was in the end an easy victory, relatively speaking, for Red Bull, especially for Verstappen there. With Norris finishing 13 seconds behind, with Ferraris 33 seconds respectively behind. So hopefully, that pace can be improved. Over here, you can see the rest, finishing up to the Hülkenberg, Hamilton, obviously starting only 18th, finish 1 minute behind. So now, let's check out how it looks like in a real standing, because they did show it in a regular highlights. So over here, after round 5 in China, Verstappen leading with 110 points. You can see, that we cannot let him run away. So at least the limitation, and if you look at overall standings, Leclerc and Sainz, obviously Verstappen leading by 25 points. So Perez could still jump him. He's now the only guy who has a possibility to lead after Miami, especially where there will be a sprint race. But Leclerc could also get very, very close, and with Sainz 76.69 is very good. Norris still looks like to be in there, but I don't think McLaren will be that strong. And you can see the rest of the table, they're already quite far back. So this is actually a really good performance by Ferrari, because while, the championship doesn't look so good, look what happens over here. If we look at the Constructors' Championship, where we are 44 points behind, so we could definitely take the lead in Miami. You can see the beautiful Scarlet Ferrari being right up there, and we, for example, have almost tripled the points of the 4th place Mercedes-Benz. So that's quite amazing over here, and we will then exactly see what happens once we go to the 6th round, obviously the first race in the United States in Miami. At the moment, we're keeping up the pace with Red Bulls. We need to get a new upgrade. Once we do that, I'm pretty confident that we can be stronger, and that's why sometimes it's simply all about the damage limitation, isn't it? Because in a race like this, it's frustrating, it's disappointing. I would hope that Ferrari would do better, but sadly, there were some issues, especially I think with the traction, coming out of plenty of corners. So we definitely have a lot of work to do. We lost a bit of ground to Red Bull, but don't worry, we never give up, especially now. We go to some very exciting places, especially in Miami. That's gonna be a great race. You can definitely check out how well I did in Miami. So I expect Ferrari to do just as well. That was basically the Chinese Grand Prix. A bit disappointing that we didn't win it. We were not in a fight for the victory, but I'm sure we will be in a fight for the victory very, very soon. Forza Ferrari! Let's go Scuderia! Now let's go to Miami and kickstart, or restart, I should say, our 2024 FIA Formula 1 World Championship title charge, both in drivers and constructors.